Jameson.
Sorry.
Do you want to introduce yourself, Ed?
Hello, everyone. Ed Jameson, CEO for Operation Kindness here just north of Dallas, Texas. Very happy to be on this Monday morning.
Great. As we get started, I was just thinking it's 100 degrees here in Texas where I am, and I'm hearing everyone is super hot where they are as well. And it makes me think of a cooler place and water. So I am going to say our question of the day to get us started is, what is your favorite body of water? It could be an ocean, a river, or lake you've been to. I am going to start with near Kathy from Canada's country, Lake Crescent in Olympic National Park, still in the US, but so beautiful. All right, Columbia River from Sarah. Let's see. Oh, Norway, never been. Lake Tahoe, the Pacific. Hopefully we're all feeling a little bit cooler from this. Oahu, the Caribbean. I know so many. We're getting some good summer vacation ideas in the chat. I love this. We might have to change our backgrounds. Oh my gosh. Crater Lake, Huntington Beach. Love it. So many places I want to go in Ontario. Perfect. This is great. Thanks for kicking us off, everyone. It's still rolling in. Ed, have you been to any of these places?
Every single one of them. Yep, they all are wonderful. Yeah. No, I've been to some. Lake Erie is what I was going to say, just being born and bred Northeast Ohio.
Yeah, this seems, Los Angeles. Love it. A lot of Lake Merritt. I'm going to have to go there. That's great. And Lake Louise on my bucket list. Well, great. Welcome, everyone. Happy Monday.
Hey, Claire, if I could, just only because a little bit different, we could take one quick moment to acknowledge and take a moment of silence for those who don't know. Amy Sadler's son, Willen, passed away in an absolutely tragic situation the other week. It's absolutely horrible. So if we could, I know we like to get started by getting pumped up and energized, but if we could just take a moment of silence to recognize the amazing work that Willen Sadler did in his short life for the animal world. All right, thank you, everybody. I know that we again, we're also busy working so hard. And that it's sometimes easy to lose track of the important things in all of our lives, and remembering that there are humans doing so much of this work here to help all these animals. So, all right, Claire, think of something to pick us back up here now.
No, absolutely. Thanks, Ed. That was really important. And we're all thinking of the Dogs Playing for Life family right now. So as we get started, we wanted to remind everyone of the new call structure. This call, we used to have a Monday and a Friday call, Friday being focused on bringing mostly for directors and leadership. But the exciting thing about merging the calls to one is everyone is welcome, no matter what level you're at. Even if you just joined animal welfare, you might be in an entry-level position all the way up to leadership. We're really excited for the panels and presentations that we're bringing to you, and they speak to everyone. So thanks, Allison, for that link to register, and please feel free to share with your colleagues and any staff members you're working with. So with that, we have a really exciting presentation, but first we wanted to open it up for a few minutes for any national updates that might be out there. Feel free to unmute and share an update.
Yeah, and I think we've got a couple of Maddies right off the bat, right? We got the season 2 premiere for the Maddie's Candid Conversation with Elijah Bryce Middleton. That is coming up on Wednesday, August 24th. What else do we have? We got a couple of Maddies. The Using Care Pathways to Manage Your Shelter Behavior program with Dr. Sheila Sergeson. She's absolutely amazing. If you have not listened to her, she's brilliant. That's August 31st. And what do we got? We've got the National Public Awareness Campaign, Share the Care. So I think Gina Knapp, are you on the call? Did you want to mention about that? I have not seen Gina.
She's on. And I'll just dip in. Melanie Sadek, we've talked about this campaign on this call several weeks ago, maybe months ago by now. But take a look at the information on that registration link, and we encourage you to join and share that link with others. This is a national campaign to share the care. It's something that it highlights incredible impact that all of us have on animals when the government, community, and nonprofits collaborate. So it's very timely because we're experiencing such overwhelming animal populations and increased length of stays. So see how, join this short webcast to see how you might be able to get involved and help spread the word. Thank you.
Allison, thanks for sharing that. I want to hype it up a little bit more than that, though. This is our opportunity to change the American people's perception of what we do and how they can help us. So I hope that makes you curious, because together we are a pretty dangerous force. Did we put the date and time in the chat, Allison?
Is there twice, so.
And we don't want you to have FOMO, so sign up today.
Gina Neff, it's Kathy from Canada calling out that I still think it needs to be an international campaign, just saying.
If we can get some funding to have Meta help us in Canada, we will.
Okay, keep me posted on that. And then I'll just segue right in quickly to let y'all know that the call for abstracts for the Humane Canada's 2023 Summit for Animals to be held in beautiful Victoria, British Columbia, for those of you who missed us in Banff this year, is now open and will be open until the 9th of September. And I'll put the link in the chat.
And hello, I am joining all of you in my last week with American Pets Live and the Human Animal Support Services Project. And I'm leaving the project with a very something that's really near and dear to my heart. For those of you that are not on pets.findhelp.com yet, please get your programs and services listed. I'm going to put information in the chat, but this is a game changer for our industry. This is the place where we can all come together and help build a network of animal services throughout the country that is fully integrated with human services. So that was really the goal of us all coming together in the beginning, is providing more services for our communities. And this is a really great platform to do that. Again, I'm going to put it in the chat, but please, please, please do it for your organization. Reach out to your community organizations and ask everyone to get their services and programs listed on this website.
Perfect. Thanks, Jamie. And it looks like we've a couple updates in the chat. I don't know if Sarah or Catherine wants to unmute and announce their update.
Sure. The Midwest Animal Sheltering Conference is scheduled for next month in Columbia, Missouri, pretty much smack dab in the middle of the country. That is going to be September 23rd through 25th, and you can learn more at MissouriAnimals.org.
And I'm throwing on my AWA board member hat here for the Transport Best Practices Roundtable, which is August 17th. The link is in the chat. Should be a really good listen for anybody who wants to sign up for that.
And hi, everyone. It's the other Amber from Maddie's Fund. I just wanted to remind everyone that just by watching this call either right now, live, or on demand, you have a chance to win a grant for us. Thank you so much, Irene, for dropping the link in the chat, and we hope to see you in the winner's circle.
Perfect. Thank you. And Julie, I'm not sure if you want to unmute. If not, we can read it in the chat there.
Sure, thank you so much. So my name is Julie Bank, and I am an animal sheltering consultant, and I'm working with the University of Florida right now to develop a class on fundraising and development, master's level class online. And I'm looking for development professionals that are willing to be interviewed on a variety of topics about development. It's just would be a Zoom conversation. It would be very casual. And if you are interested and willing, you can contact me at julie@jbankconsulting.com. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Thank you, everyone. Great updates. And if anyone has any others, if you don't mind putting it in the chat, but we didn't want to waste any more time today. We have incredible speakers to introduce to you. We are going to be talking, Rachel and Taylor are going to be talking about growing leaders. They did an incredible, if anyone went to the Best Friends conference this year, they did an incredible presentation. This is an abbreviated version of it. And again, doesn't matter what level of the org you're in, this is going to speak to you. So I wanted to introduce Rachel Williams. She's the Operations and Public Program Manager with Los Angeles Animal Care and Control. Hi, Rachel.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Saw you waving. Yes, I love it. And Taylor Sharp, she's the Executive Director of Wenatchee Valley Humane Society in Washington. And we got a wave there. So I am going to hand it over to you all, and feel free to share your screen. And for everybody listening, feel free to put questions in the chat. We'll have a little bit of time at the end to get to them, or you can unmute at the end to have a conversation. So take it away, Taylor and Rachel. Thanks so much.
Okay, can you see my screen all right?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. Okay, so we'll get started with maybe some introductions, a little bit longer introductions. We don't think that you need to really give your qualifications for people to take you seriously. However, that's a challenge that young leaders face every single day. So we wanted to give you some insight into why we feel worthy about presenting on this topic. Rachel, do you want to get it started?
Yes. Hi, my name is Rachel Ray. Some people call me Rachel, some people call me Ray. Either way, it's fine with me. This is my plant Rapunzel. I am normally a foster mom, and right now I don't have any foster pets right now. So this is my lovely plant Rapunzel. She is lively and she's living around my house. I am the E-Operations and the Public Program Manager for LA County. I oversee data in a way, the Communication Center, and rescue coordination for the county. Taylor?
Sure. A little bit about my background first. I put my dogs on there. That's Leonard and Gertrude. They're way cuter, and that's what everyone asks. So I just show them. They're my California dogs who are not adjusted to Washington temperatures. I got involved in animal welfare at about 14, working illegally in a shelter where I saw there was a lot of regressive policies. And so I approached leadership and they said, nope, we're not having any of it. And I saw that not only were the animals hurting, the staff was hurting, the community was hurting. And that's kind of been my motivation for the entirety of my career. I worked in a plethora of shelters in the Midwest and then moved on to Best Friends Animal Society, where I worked along the West Coast. And I did the Maddie's Executive Leadership Fellowship position, which was wonderful. And now I am the director at Wenatchee Valley Humane Society. So thanks for having me. To kick things off, I don't think anyone is going to be surprised when we mention that there has been a great resignation. In the state of Washington alone, we had, I think it was 35 to 40% of our executive directors at shelters resign in an 18-month period, specifically around 2020, 2021. It was pretty impactful for the entirety of the state. And I'm sure that that has been duplicated in other areas as well. Reasons behind this vary. I think we're all familiar with a lot of people retired. A lot of people took early retirement. They wanted to stay safe during a pandemic. A lot of people were burnt out and saw this as their opportunity to leave, which we completely understand. There were an estimated additional 3 million retirements that happened from 2020 to 2021, and we felt all of that. It was incredibly challenging for a lot of organizations, as any leadership change is, but at a pandemic, also how many of our organizations are going through a very challenging, unique time. We're struggling to find staff, we're struggling to retain staff. We have a lot of intakes, reduction in adoptions in a lot of places. It's been really challenging. There's also this desire to return to pre-pandemic normals. We, as an organization, as really a whole team across the country, have done a better job as of recent. But there's this idea that we can see 2019 as this golden era and we should return to 2019. And realistically, so much has changed that we are not able to do that. We need to embrace what's going on currently and see how we can pivot and mold ourselves to better help our communities with the struggles we're dealing with in 2022. So with all of that in mind, now is the most important time to ensure that we're building succession plans, building ourselves up as leaders, whatever we need. Rachel, you want to talk a bit about hiring?
Yes. So hiring leadership within the organization versus outside the organization. Me, I'm a lifer. I have worked in animal welfare since I was a teenager, just like Taylor, all the way up until adulthood. So for me, I believe that people that have been in our industry have really good ideas, are well versed in how things were pre-pandemic versus post-pandemic. But really thinking about your leadership for your organization should really come through with some self-reflection. Are you trying to grow? Is your team stagnant? What are you looking for? Are you looking for fresh ideas, new perspective, or are you trying to tighten existing processes and policies? Like for me, I love to see a person that is essentially naive about animal welfare solve our problems because they have such a great perspective. They don't have any of the extra baggage that I have of seeing things go wrong or, just having the history. A lot of times they have really great, fresh ideas to really evaluate and approach things very new to an existing problem. And then you have those people that have been in the industry for a really long time, that have that historical knowledge, that really have that community information to let us know, in our experience, this is what we've seen to help us plan for the future. I believe that sharing talent and prepping the future is super, super important. Stuff like this, like getting together, talking on a call, really solving things. Because a lot of the problems that I have or you have or any other organization may have, we probably already have somebody that has encountered that kind of problem. So really having leaders that are approachable, that can reach out to other organizations and other individuals and say, hey, we're having this challenge, we're having this problem. Is it some way that you can support us or kind of give us something so we can do things our own way? I think media training is super, super, super important for all levels of leadership and everybody in the organization. Everybody in your organization should be able to talk about what you're doing. Everybody should be able to answer questions about how your organization works. Like, what are your policies? What are your policies? What are your strategies? What are you guys doing? Everybody doesn't have to be super, super, executive level, but they should be able to answer general questions with some media training to get those answers out there. Continued education is something that I care about deeply. We can't just learn from in our organization. We have to reach outside and say, how are things going over there? Is it some way that I can improve what we already know to improve our organization and improve the culture of animal welfare? We are often the authority. We are often the example. But sometimes a lot of people don't have enough information to really support the community. And I think if we continued education, this is super important. We have to continue to learn, continue to grow on all levels, no matter your position, to make sure that we're staying in touch with the times and we're staying in touch with the information and we're in touch with the best practices. Building strong networks of people is super, super important. I think pre-pandemic, we were all on the island, individual islands as our own shelters and our own organizations. But now that we can see across the pond, like it's other people here, it's other ideas, it's other resources, and building those strong networks of people, sharing those resources, sharing those people, I think will be this best for us overall as an industry.
So why aren't we just fixing this automatically? there's a lot of challenges with change, and we understand that. One of the things we're living with right now is a very strong us versus them culture, politically, financially, cat people versus dog people, et cetera. There's a lot of us versus them going on. Obviously, one of the challenges is this generational idea. I get the urge. I get why people say it. But it has consequences. We're often overlooking talent due to biases. It causes unnecessary strife. As my friend Moira Rose says, it makes an ass out of both of us. Ageism has been a big part of my career as a young leader. It has worked sometimes to my advantage, but most of the time it's a disadvantage just based on this bias that people have. I had a boss, at one point I was going for a promotion, and his exact words were, "You're not getting it, not because you're not talented, but because the people you work with won't take you seriously. They don't like millennials." And that was a really, really challenging moment for me. It's something I struggled with. Rachel, how has ageism impacted you?
People guess my age all the time. So, people are like, I think the biggest thing is question my confidence. Why does this young lady think she knows how to do something, and it's just really, it's condescending and it's hurtful. And, like, I'm confident because of my ability. I'm confident because of my experience. I'm confident because the way I was raised, all those things are factored into it. So, my challenge is not just the ageism, sometimes it's the sexism, and I know Taylor can agree with this. And I also experienced racism. A young Black woman professional in leadership and animal welfare is just tough, and I'm 35 years old. So, how old do I need to be considered old enough to do this job, even though I've been doing it for like close to 15 years? And Taylor is probably the same way. The young part, the woman part, yes, it benefits me maybe sometimes, but for the most part, it has caused me to have conflicts.
Absolutely. It's a big problem that I know a lot of people face. I face it pretty regularly for ageism and being a female. But we're collectively as a group going to work through that, aren't we? So things that we should be paying attention to, we should be seeing the individual as an individual, obviously. We should be looking for external cultural shifts, so industry-wide, nationwide, global, whatever that might be. A big one that we've all faced is this desire to work from home. And then we should also be looking at our internal cultures. So what is our workplace really thriving off of? Ours was a desire to change our meeting structure, which was fantastic, easy enough to do. As a current leader, I believe it's our responsibility to ensure that we are spotting top talent and retaining them and building them up to be this kind of next generation of leaders within the industry. My personal philosophy is aptitude versus experience, and it hasn't bitten me in the tush yet. I believe aptitude is way, way, way more important than 5 years of working experience. Those 5 years don't necessarily mean that they are the best. And it can also be relatively problematic. They can be stunted in the growth on those types of things. So is it the most traditional path to hire a kennel tech to be your communications manager? Not always, but has it paid off? Absolutely. So I think training that new person can often be daunting. And yes, it definitely is more work. However, they provide this fresh perspective. They're willing to be mentored often in your style, which is absolutely fantastic. And they typically build a level of investment in you as a leader and as in the organization that you don't get all the time. So indicators of aptitude that I look for are the people that ask questions. They have a hunger for knowledge. They show an interest in the betterment of the organization as a whole, and they're willing to help. I think that kind of sums up the core of what leadership is. You're willing to help. You care about the whole organization. Easy. The kind of trick from at least my experience is retaining them. The most obvious way I think that most of us have pursued is benefits. our organization, we're playing with them. We're seeing what can work. I added a retirement plan, increased PTO, gave them the largest percentage increase in pay overall that the organization had ever seen. And did it work completely? No, but was it worth it? Absolutely, because it's a continued investment in not only those employees right at that moment, but the future employees as well. And our employees deserve to be paid a living wage. They work really hard. They deserve to be able to afford a life outside of our organizations as well. Feed that thirst for knowledge. Most of these really good people have a desire to learn more. One of the worst things, in my opinion, that we can do is stunt that thirst for knowledge. So creating opportunities for them to learn. At our organization, we take from 1:30 to 2:30, we close down, we let the animals have an hour of quiet time. They're not allowed to interact with people. We shut off the lights, and then we take that time to teach our staff new, unique skills. So it could be, how to vaccinate, or we bring in an outside presenter from the community, a local business that's hoping to partner with us and learn those, help us help the community, those types of things. Anything, utilize time to find ways to feed that thirst. And then if they come to you with a training opportunity or a course that might not be the most relevant to them per se, say yes, it'll pay off. If they come to you and they're like, I want to go to these weekly calls, and you say it's an hour every Monday, I don't know if you have time, say yes, it will pay off in the end. I promise. The next thing I really thrive off of is trust your people. They are definitely going to make mistakes, but that's a learning opportunity for them. As long as you create it or phrase it as a learning opportunity, it will pay dividends. It's empowering and provides a natural opportunity for them to build those leadership skills. Last is obviously make their work meaningful. We're all here because we love animals, we love people, but find that unique piece. So I have an operations manager who loves interacting with the public. Is that the thing that she should do all day, every day? No, but should she take 30 minutes each day, have a meaningful interaction, help process an adoption so she can feed off of that energy? Absolutely. My development manager loves dogs, so I have her walk a dog almost every single day. It doesn't necessarily follow their job description per se, but it pays off. And then the big thing is train them. Mentorship, I will jump into a lot in a little bit. I feel very strongly about mentorship, but also cross-train them, facilitate those relationships across the organization so they can help their peers, open doors to groups like this, those types of things.
So paths for future leaders to explore. Continuing education is probably the most important thing. I think we get so stopped in our everyday processes. We forget that new processes come out, best practices are rolled out every day, new tools, new research, it's so much things that are happening to our industry every day. And I think we get to a point where it's like, hey, I know this job, I know this role, I know all this, but so much good stuff comes out of it. And not just to learn new things, but also to meet new people. Like Taylor said, mentorship is super, super, super important. Cross-training is super, super important. I was at an agency at one point, and we had an adoption desk and we had a pet support desk. And those two groups just did not mingle. So when I became the manager, I switched everybody around. The pet support people were burned out. They needed to see happy stories. So I moved them to adoptions. The adoption teams, if you've ever hired an adoption team, those are your mascots for the organization. They have really good soft skills. So I moved those people to pet support. And at first it was a lot of rumbling and grumbling, but once everything kind of died down, it made such a good difference. Our pet support people have those soft skills to kind of manage and help people go through the process of surrendering their pets or getting the services that they needed. And my pet support people were so burnt out. They were so happy to see good stories. It was great. It really, and when it all came down to it and I lost a bunch of people, both sides were both cross-trained. So I had pet support people doing off-site adoptions. I had adoption people, supporting pet support. So it really came out to improve the overall culture and environment of those two teams. They can see how they connected, and they can also see winning the day. If we stop as many as we can and prevent intake prevention through supportive services, then adoptions doesn't have to work so hard on that. So everybody kind of got it. And it made it a lot easier to kind of balance our day. You know, everybody kind of knew what was going on, how many we need to prevent, how many animals we need to get out. And back to continuing education, I have done Best Friends ELC. It was great. I've done Maddie's executive leadership, Maddie's exec fellowship. I think Taylor did that one. I did the University Pacific Certified Animal Manager. So that one was great. You know, it's so many scholarships, working groups, human animal support services. I think that was like a really good gem because I was able to work with people from all over and kind of really talk about, I want to do this or I want to do that. And they were like, we have everything for you. We have policies, we have procedure, we have documents. You know, they literally had everything and I just had to retrofit for my organization. So keep working together, keep networking, skills, building skills, super important.
Okay, I promised I would talk about mentorship, and I will admit that I'm completely biased because mentorship has been hugely beneficial for me, but I think it can be hugely beneficial for anyone. One question people often ask themselves is, should I be a mentor? I don't necessarily feel like I'm perfectly skilled in this. I'm wearing whatever your excuse is. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't need to be at the top of your game to be a mentor. The short answer is yes, you should absolutely mentor someone. If you're hemming and hawing because you realize that this will take some time and effort and you're tired because you've worked really hard already, I think I would urge you to reconsider. There's a lot of different components that go into it. You can read all of them, but obviously the biggest piece is there's a level of mutual satisfaction and a level of mutual learning. Who doesn't love giving back? You're in this field for a reason. You've probably enjoyed that feeling. And I can guarantee you as a mentor, you will learn just as much as your mentee does. The last piece that I have found so beautiful is allowing staff to mentor one another has created such an amazing sense of community and really positive culture shift in a lot of organizations. I would strongly recommend investing in that yourself. It's incredibly important. You get teams with new skills. They know how to communicate better. They've learned more about their colleagues. There really is no downside to it besides just a little bit of time. To further that point, Rachel and I both want to tell you a little bit about how mentorship has impacted us. So Rachel, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I can go first. I love the food pantry. So this is me and Gabriel at the food pantry when I was working for Dallas Animal Services. I would consider Ed my mentor and Jordan Craig. They really set me up for success. They were like, this is all the things I want you to do and just get it done. And they really cultivated a place for me to really like figure things out, really connect with other groups, and really develop something that's really, really, really important to me. So the food pantry is one of those things that I worked on. If you've ever been to Dallas Animal Services, the campus is not made for holding food. It's not made for getting people in and out really well. It's just really only good for housing animals. So we needed to come up with a food pantry at the beginning of the pandemic. No volunteers, no staff. Only thing I had was food. So I went out did some data, looked at who needs food, went out to the community, contacted some local human sources, human food pantries, and say, hey, I have food. If you guys have clients, I will bring it to you. I whatever I can do to help people get the food that they need and the supplies that they need in the community, that would be great. And all three pantries said yes. We share volunteers so they can come pick up food. They package food, they drop off food, they distribute food. They pretty much kind of help us run the whole thing, and we provide the food and services and all that kind of stuff. We've even gotten to the point where we were like, who needs vaccines? Who needs kennels? Like, what do you need to help you keep your pets together? Now they have, I think, 3 running food pantries on some sort of schedule for 3 different facilities. But you can go on the Dallas Animal website if you want to learn more, if you want to donate food. They have a link there too, if you want to support some families. But through mentorship, I was able to develop this. And this is a sustainable program. Like, I'm not even at Dallas, but this food distribution happens. I'm no longer even in the city. So that's something that I really care about. And through mentorship was possible. What about you, Taylor?
That's amazing. Mentorship has helped me exponentially. One of my mentors basically saw that I was investing in myself. He knew that I wanted to run a shelter and said, I want to help you get there. I believe in you. And one, I believe in you are some of the greatest words that you can hear ever. I don't care who you are. Everyone enjoys hearing that. So that was a boost in itself. But my mentor said, I noticed that you really appreciate learning by reading. I like to have a piece of paper in front of me that has stats, that has data, that has tried and true methods, whatever it is. So we decided to do a monthly book club together. So for 12 months, we read a book a month, and all about leadership. Some of them were fantastic, some of them not so great, but it is equally important to learn what you don't want to do as it is to learn what you do want to do. So 12 months, 1 year, we read a book a month, and he so kindly dedicated, it was supposed to be an hour each month to talking about it, but oftentimes it turned into more because we're chatty. But it was hugely beneficial for me, and it helped me grow the confidence that I needed to be able to take this as the front doors to Wenatchee Valley Humane Society, take over this pretty cool organization. And I had a moment a couple of weeks ago where we actually went full circle, which was wonderful. One of my mentees, she learned so much that she received a position running a different organization, which I'm incredibly happy for her. That's what we want, to share that wealth of knowledge. But I, as her parting gift, gave her one of the books that I had read with my mentor, and she said, we should compare notes on this. And I just kind of had this really great moment. So mentorship is incredibly impactful. It helped me so much. And I hope to spread that for the next generation of leaders as well.
And if you can't mentor somebody, you can sponsor somebody. That's the only piece. So like, if you don't have the time, you say, connecting somebody to the resource is just as good as you doing it. So like, if I am not able to do the mentorship, I'm like, let me call Claire. Let me see if she's free. Like, I will find somebody for you if I can't do it myself. And I think that's another thing that you can consider. If you don't have time, consider sponsoring somebody.
I agree completely.
Benefits and challenges to young leadership. We're going to roll back to this. So a lot of things what we experience and what we've already kind of talked about is perception versus reality. I don't care about who you are as a person. As long as you can get the work done, that's what I care about. If grandma wants to go and wrangle dogs, like get her together and let's go. Like, if that's what she's confident in and that's what she feels what she wants to do and she's qualified for the job, like, let's get grandma on. So really, looking at leaders for who they are and what they can bring, and not looking at the age, the sex, the race, what you think this person is capable of, really evaluate what's actually getting done. I think remote work completely changed our landscaping. I feel so much more confident working remotely now. I've had so many more opportunities. I can join more calls. This really kind of opened up. So really looking to see if remote work will help provide the opportunities for people that are in the position to accept it. Join those calls, do those group trainings, do those working groups, really use the capability of remote work to your advantage, and help the young leadership, help the youth. I think a lot of times people in the community don't utilize animal services until they find a dog, and that's way too late. Like, one of the most impactful things that I've experienced as a person is I found a kitten when I was a kid. I called my local Humane Society and I was like, I got these kittens. And the lady was like, don't bring it here. I mean, it was early 2000s when we were having this conversation. So, intake diversion has been a thing. But she was like, this is what you do. You need to get KMR, you need to get some bottles. They need to be 2 pounds. And I was a teenager, so my parents let me bottle feed these kittens, and having that human animal connection, saving a life as a teenager, I think completely changed my approach to the work that I do. And I think if more people had the opportunity to save a life as a young adult or as a child, it will completely change how we all approach animal services, because now it's something that just changes you, you know, like, and I think everybody on this call can kind of understand that. Saving a life is really impactful work. And I think if we start off with young adults, children, let them know animal safety, how to handle animals, what do you do when you find kittens, respecting wildlife, you know, all those things are super important. And I think we should happen way before adulthood even occurs. You got anything else, Taylor?
No, except the technology hates me, doesn't want to go to our next slide.
Oh,
There it is.
I could take this one. Mentorship, knowledge sharing, networking. I think that me and Taylor both agree those are going to be the cornerstones of leadership moving forward. Being a servant leader, understanding what your community needs, what your organization needs. We should be rooted in community service. People need access to care. Like, it's not just dogs in the community. These dogs are connected to people. These cats are connected to people. Keeping families together. We need to be people-centric solutions. Like, if we don't address the people's needs, we're never going to solve any of our problems. Like, right, you know, people need access to housing, people need access to medical care, people need access to food, you know, like all those things. And until we address those things, I don't think animal welfare is going to be able to move further. And I think we should really use our industry and really push on. I mean, nobody can compare to cute, right? We already have the kittens, we already have the puppies. Like, let's use it as a smoke screen to really get some things done in our community. Like, you like these kittens, you know, like, these kittens came from a place, and let me tell you about it. Let me tell you how we can support our communities a lot better. And proactive connection with the community. We should not be seeing people the first time when we give them citations. That should not be we should have regular conversations with the community. We should be talking about what we offer, how we can support, because we are a part of the community as well. The people in our organizations are a part of the community. The people in the community are the community. So really just really connecting and really be people-centric.
That's it. That's all I've got. Well, thank you for letting us speak with you all. Please, we both genuinely mean it. If you want to connect at all, this is our contact information. Please take it down. We'll share it in the chat as well. But we are more than happy to talk with anyone. And I don't know, do we have time left for questions?
Yes, you both did a absolutely terrific job. It was very easy as we were putting the slate together, coming up with people to present. I was lucky enough to be able to work with Rachel at DAS. I miss Rachel. It's so great that we actually finally are able to see each other again here, and have done some work with Taylor back when she was doing mentorship. They're just amazing, amazing people. So while we've got a couple of minutes, does anybody have any questions? You want to hit the raise your hand button, or just unmute yourself and come on? I think we've got about 7 minutes. Is that right, Claire?
Yep, that's right. Looks like Nancy had a question. I'm not sure if you want to unmute there. If not, we can read it for you.
Hi there.
Hi.
Hi, Taylor. So I'm interested in the concept of shutting down for an hour in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
And sort of how that works. Just, you know, very quick synopsis of it. But do you allow volunteers during that time? And sort of what's the thought process behind that?
Sure. The thought process was, it was one of our silver linings of COVID. We found that when we didn't have people walking through constantly, our animals were more relaxed, less in disease spread. So we decided to formally make 1 hour where often that sets aside time for our staff to take lunch if they need to, if we're not doing a learning opportunity that day. We shut off all the lights. We don't let people in to see the animals. We literally have them take a nap. We turn on the like lullaby music, and it has paid dividends for us. Occasionally we'll have to, you know, pull a dog for a medical appointment, those types of things, but we really do try to avoid it. And it has been wonderful. We just shut down for an hour, and our community at first said, what? And then they got used to it, and everything's good. And when you explain that it is for the benefit of the animals, we have really seen very little pushback to it. So our volunteers at that time, if they're doing a 5-hour shift or whatever they might be, they will then transition to non-animal interacting components. We try to have all of our play groups done by that point, so we're not pulling dogs for play group, those types of things. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Is it 7 days a week you do that?
7 days a week.
Great. Thank you.
We have a book resource list. I think Taylor, can you send the resource list out? Okay. Yeah.
Yes, I'll grab that and put it in the chat.
It's not all our books, but it's just a good list of stuff that we like, I think reading recently or we like, yeah. Any other questions?
It looks like Robert in the chat had a question. Robert, I'm not sure if you want to unmute or we can read it in the chat if you want to just write that. I'll read it for him. It says, how important is the concept of emotional intelligence and where is that in terms of priority when you're mentoring future leaders? If either of you want to take that one.
I'll take that one. Emotional intelligence is super, super duper important. I think I read an article is if you get higher up in your organization, the less emotional intelligence for leaders. So it's super important to me, especially in this super conflicting, high emotional work that we do. You really have to have some self-check and you really have to be solution oriented to really solve people's problems, because a lot of it is like a lot of chaos. And when you really drill it down, like let's get together and let's kind of solve this, you really need somebody that's emotionally intelligent to see past all the smoke and really get to solving and really resolution oriented. So it's super important.
I agree completely. We ask EI-based questions during every interview at every level that we do. We've done a lot of hiring, so it's an important component. I cannot underestimate how important it is.
In this book, Emotional Intelligence 2.0. If you take the test, it'll tell you where you are. And then you can start working on the areas that you're not so strong in. But if you take this test, it'll send you results and then you can go from there. But I usually recommend to everybody who's interested in emotional intelligence at some point.
Great. It looked like Erin had a question. Erin, if you wanted to unmute.
Hi. Not sure if you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Okay, I'm on the Bluetooth in my car. I'm sorry. I had a question as far as benefits go. I know whenever you were mentioning benefits, they seemed employee-based, such as part-time off and such. What benefits do you place towards your volunteers or focus towards your volunteers? We're 100% volunteer, so I'm very interested in ideas, new ideas for our volunteers as far as benefits go.
I'll start with that and say it's challenging. And I'm sure other people have much better ideas than I do for our volunteers, because we do have 40 staff here. Our volunteers get an opportunity to do a little like piece of meaningful work. So if they signed up for a cat shift and they want the last 15 minutes to be with a behavior dog that they've really bonded with, great. We add that in. We do lots of volunteer appreciation type events and recognition. That is kind of the extent of the benefits that we offer, which now you're making me realize we should probably offer more.
I'm sorry.
No, it's great. Thank you.
Yeah. Or maybe like training stuff like continued education for volunteers, I think will be super, super duper helpful in like reaching out to Maddie's to get certain training done or sending in volunteers out. If you say, hey, I need a couple extra dollars to send a couple of volunteers to learn some skills, I'm sure they will do something to help you out.
That is great. I actually thought of one more. As you're saying that, we do ask an expert every so often with some of our staff that are really respected, like our behavior manager is really respected. And so we'll set some people up with them in some little private time so they can feel appreciated, which kind of tags into that. But I want to send them all to Maddie's fun stuff and all that good stuff.
Send them up.
That's great. It looks like, I know we're winding down here. And so you might, it looks like there was a little trouble accessing the leadership link. So maybe we can put that in the Maddie's pet forum after this. And I think the last question was probably for Taylor and also for you, Ray, for interview questions of favorite interview questions, and feel free. I know we're putting you on the spot. So if you'd rather answer that into the Maddie's Pet Forum, we can continue the conversation there as well.
I will pick my HR manager's brain on that because she is the maestro of those, and happily add them.
I like the what are you proud of, or what are you most like? What's your most proud thing that you've done professionally? I think that's a really good question. But I've worked in municipal government, so usually all our questions are like pre-formatted. So it just depends on, and I think human animal support services might have some support on that front, but I'll look it up for you guys to find out for sure.
That's perfect. Thank you both so much. I saw Mary said it earlier. We want to spend every morning just with this inspiration and re-listening to this conversation. So thank you so much. Truly an inspiring presentation. So we are going to close it for now. And yes, everybody go to the Maddie's Pet Forum if you'd like to share the recording of this and continue the conversation there. So thanks so much, Rachel, Taylor, and Ed. And I hope everyone has a wonderful week. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
See you next week, everyone.
See you next week.